Thank you, Matt. Good afternoon. I surely wish that I was here speaking about the Oklahoma Sooners and Jonathan Gray and trying to prepare for him this upcoming Friday or Saturday, but unfortunately I'm not. With that being said, just coming off of a good weekend, a good showing in the regional, especially after losing the first game. Sam Houston coming back and getting back into the championship round against LSU and falling just a little short. The season as a whole, we accomplished a lot of our goals this year. Our first and foremost goal was to learn to compete a little better, and we absolutely accomplished that goal. Another one of our goals was to have a 40-win season. We surpassed that by 3 wins, and a Sun Belt Conference championship was also a goal of ours. Came up short on that end by 2 games, 1 game in the regular season, 1 game in the conference tournament, but we're right there knocking on the door. So a lot of good things happened throughout this season, both for some individuals and as a team as a whole. A lot of great individual performances. I could go up and down the lineup and just mention every one of the guys really, as far as offensively and on the pitching staff. With Dex Kerstad being 2 hits shy of tying the single season record of 101 hits, which is so tough to do. From Caleb Adams with the 16 home runs out of the DH spot, and just other guys, the season that Austin Robichaux had, the season that Cody Booty had, the 8 wins, 9 wins, the season that Matt Hicks had with the 11 saves, becoming the all-time career leader in saves and also all-time single-season leader in saves in the season. Just some tremendous, outstanding performances, which allowed us to have the team performance that we did throughout this season. This was a team that loved each other from the word go, way back when we started in the fall. One of the objectives, of the coaching staff was to get this team together, put this team together, get the team chemistry where it needed to be. The players took care of that as far as getting the chemistry where it needed to be and allowing us to be successful this spring. But it started off with a great fall and continued throughout the spring. Looking forward, looking forward into the summer and into next fall. The Major League Baseball amateur draft starts this Thursday. We have 3 guys that are on the team that will more than likely be drafted. Don't know exactly what rounds. From Michael Strentz, Dex Kerstad, and Seth Harrison. Will probably all 3 be drafted in this amateur draft. Thursday's just the first round, and then the rest of it goes the next couple days. So, those guys are going to have decisions to make. No doubt we would love to have all 3 of those guys back. Don't foresee losing all 3 of those guys, but could definitely see losing 1, if not 2, if the round's right, if the money's right, if the commitment from the Major League organization is right. But I do know this, they all 3 love this team, love this university. They all know what could possibly happen next year with this whole team coming back, with the exception of 2 pitchers in Ben Frith and Kendall Mayer. They know the potential of the student athletes that we're bringing in for next season. So they all know what's at stake for next season. Every one of them has said, as we have been going through exit interviews these last couple of days with the players, is, Coach, we love this city, we love this university. What we felt last weekend in the regional, we definitely want to feel again, and even feel a little bit better about it. And also to come back and win a conference championship. So, all 3 of them are going to have major decisions to make, and they've all got the facts on pro ball versus college baseball, and we've talked to them at length about professional baseball and the process that it takes to become a Major League Baseball player, which is what their ultimate goal is and what we ultimately want them to do. We want them, if they are going to sign, to make it to the big leagues. And in order to make it to the big leagues, there's a certain process and a certain route that has to be taken, along the way to get up to the big league. It's not just sign because you got drafted and then spend however many years in the minor leagues, you know, and not really be a prospect. You want to make sure that you're a prospect when you do get drafted and when you do get signed. So, you know, those are some decisions that those guys will have to make. Looking forward to next fall, we've got some really high-level recruits that are going to come in and help out this team, especially on the pitching side of things. Offensively, we're just going to bring in a couple of guys because, you know, the whole offense is back. But, you know, pitching-wise, we're going to bring in a few guys to help the depth of this pitching staff so that we can be better suited all around. You know, I think a lot of people looked at the offense this year as kind of carrying this team, which in a way it kind of did, but, you know, the pitching staff had some really good moments this year also. We've got some, you know, I think Austin Robichaud just took off this season after his third start, the start at Southern Miss. From that point on, he kind of emerged into a true ace, a true Friday night guy. You know, up until that point, leading off the season, we didn't feel that we had that true ace, that true Friday night lockdown guy that you knew that whenever he took the mound, it was a no-brainer. You were either going to win or you were going to lose 1-0 or 2-1 if you did get dumped. But from that moment, he turned into a true Friday night guy and just went out there every Friday with the utmost confidence in his team, the utmost confidence from his coaching staff, and we just knew that he was going to get the job done on those nights. So I think he emerged in that aspect throughout the season. Cody Bowie was steady for us throughout the entire season. You know, Cody had the advantage of throwing later in the weekend against someone's, you know, number 2 or number 3, where our offense was able to kind of overtake the game, and he was able to settle in and kind of pitch. I don't want to say an easy game because pitching's not easy, but, you know, settle in a little bit, whereas Austin had to kind of match everything that Austin Gomber was doing, or Daniel Wright was doing, or somebody else's number 1 was doing. You know, Austin had that burden of matching what their Friday night guy was doing, and Cody just kind of had to go in there and you know, for the most part, you know, not give up a good lead that his offense had given him. But he did a great job of that throughout the season. I think what he did this Sunday was just tremendous in getting pulled in the second inning of the first game, you know, against Sam Houston after giving up 3 runs, and then just kind of sitting through that the whole first game and thinking of what he could have done better, you know, to stay in that game or give his team a better chance to win. And to come back out when we told him or asked him if he wanted the ball again against LSU in the championship game, and he said yes, and do what he did for those 5 innings, I think is just tremendous, and a testament to him and what he can become for us next season as a senior. So, you know, we look forward to next fall. 2014 has already started. It started yesterday when we had the team meeting at 2 o'clock with the guys, and as we started exit interviews right after that, finishing up today with those. So we're working on that now. Myself, Coach Deggs will be getting out on the road very, very shortly with all of these high school summer tournaments that are going on, and you know, select showcases as far as looking for guys for the 2015 season. You know, working 2 years in advance. So, but again, looking forward to getting all the new guys on campus, and a lot of the guys right now are getting ready to go play summer ball. We've got 3 going back to Alaska. We've got 1 going to Canada, a couple going to New York. 2 of them going to Myrtle Beach, a couple of them that are playing here with the Acadiana Cane Cutters, so they're kind of spreading out and preparing to do that this summer. There are going to be a couple guys also that are going to have surgery, that need surgery on their arms. Seth Harrison is going to have surgery on his elbow. Dex Kerstad is going to have surgery on his elbow. Caleb Adams will not have surgery on his shoulder. You know, those are the 3 guys that we're contemplating whether to have it or not. So Seth and Dex will, Caleb will not. So they're going to have some rehab to do the rest of the summer, and probably leading into the early fall before they are fully healthy and ready to go, which they should be for us next spring. You know, none of those guys are pitchers as far as getting on the mound. If they were pitchers, then they wouldn't be ready for next next spring probably, but because they're position players, they'll be ready to go for next spring. So, anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
There's a lot of talk Sunday from Tony about how this season could, set up the possibility of a run to Omaha next year. So what's the balance between maybe that's a realistic expectation now, but also there's pressure that anything short of that wouldn't be success?
I think it's realistic, like you said, but I also think the position that we're in is very dangerous because we're going to have a veteran ball club coming back next year. I mean, nobody's going to be, with the exception of one guy offensively, and more guys on the pitching side of it that we're bringing in. Everybody's going to know what's expected of them. Everybody's going to know the success that they had personally and that we had as a team coming in. The one thing that can't happen for us to realize that goal of, doing what we did this year, if not better, is realizing that it's going to take even more work now because of all the expectations. Nobody expected us to do this at all this season. Finishing 10th in the league the year before, there were no expectations. Basically anything that we did was a bonus. Well, now there's very high expectations. I would assume we're going to sell more season tickets next year than we did this year because of the expectation. I would assume that if we don't start in the top 25, we may be receiving some votes because of the way we finished and the way a lot of the sports writers on the national level perceived us this season. So everybody's going to expect us to do the same thing, if not do a little bit better. So, we've got to make sure that we understand that and we work every day to continue to improve because there's still some improving that we can do, no doubt about it. We can get better. We can do better than what we've done if we understand that we have to continue to work and not think that we've made it and just doing enough is going to be enough. We've got to do more now.
Bab, you talked about some of the players that are going out to play ball this summer. Given some of the things that have happened the last couple of years, especially for pitchers who have gone out during the summer, maybe throwing too much or whatever, how much does that concern you guys as a coaching staff now when guys go out to play ball during the summer?
Pitching-wise, it concerns us a lot. Austin is not going out to pitch. Cody is not going out to pitch. Jace Conrad is not going out to play. So there's a few of the everyday guys, the regulars that are not going out. Pitcher Nick Zornbrecher is going to go out because he didn't get the innings that he needed, so he's going to go out to pitch. Lance Quibido, who redshirted for us, is going to go out to pitch. But none of the guys that logged in the innings, well, nobody logged in what Austin and Cody did, but none of those guys are going to go out. They're just going to stay and work with Jake in the weight room, get stronger, make sure their arm is healthy and ready to go for when we come back in the fall. And we told the position players, I told Blake Trahan just this morning, I saw him in the locker room, and I told him, I said, play hard, play tough, but play smart also. I think there needs to be a balance. When Blake came in the fall and said, Coach, place me this summer, and I said, absolutely, I'm going to do that. I don't think Blake nor myself envisioned that he would be doing what he did this past spring. So a lot of these commitments to go play summer ball, well, not a lot of them, all of them, are done in the fall before pitch number 1 is even made in the spring. So, and there are some cases where Caleb Adams had to call his coach and say, I can't make it there this summer. I've got to rehab my shoulder. Seth Harrison, same thing. He had to call his guy and said, I've got to. And for the most part, all these summer league coaches, they understand that injuries or overuse during the spring happens, and they just adjust their rosters accordingly. So, but it has been a concern. It is a concern, and that's why because Austin was set up to go play this summer, but 100 innings will change that in a hurry. So.
Coach, after losing a tough game Friday to Sam Houston State, Saturday when you guys got out there and was playing Jackson State and you know, maybe didn't come out with a lot of energy. Were y'all a little concerned about that, or did you feel that once you guys had an opportunity to look at that picture, you know, one time through the lineup, that you were going to eventually take care of it and then the energy level was going to come back? Because it didn't seem like there was a whole lot of energy there coming out of that loss Friday night.
Well, I can see how it would be perceived as that. I kind of know that offensively, the way we struggled the Friday night against Sam, we had only done that maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the whole course of the season. You know, this offense has stayed so consistent throughout the entire season. You know, we talked about it when we got back on the bus after Friday night. You know, the only other time that we could remember it being like that was over the Western Kentucky weekend. You know, so I think maybe what you saw Saturday against Jackson State early on was not so much that the guys weren't into it, is just kind of in shock really that it happened to us Friday night, because the intention going in for Friday night was that, you know, we were going to hit and slug our way through this regional, and it turned out it didn't work that way for us. But you know, I think kind of just not being accustomed to having games like that, it just, you know, it came off as we kind of weren't into it. But once we got into it, you know, and everything kind of snowballed, and then kind of took that into the first game on Sunday, you know, everything was kind of back to normal, and then, you know, just couldn't get anything going again against LSU in the night game. But you know, as bad as Friday was offensively, you know, if that ball that Dex hits in the last inning, you know, gets out of here, who knows what that could have done for us, you know, also. And that's why this game is a game of inches, you know. I mean, just came really close to getting that done on Friday, or at least tying the game, you know, and going into extras for sure. But you know, no way it was a lack of focus or anything like that. It was just, you know, our guys have gotten so good at being able to, you know, go through an entire game and kind of stay even keeled no matter what's happening, if we're being successful or not. And that's why I think this offense has done so well, and that the team's done so well, is because we've been able to stay calm and not panic too much whenever something does not go our way. We know that eventually we'll be able to overtake.
So you think it's more just the personality of the group of guys you got, because you guys come back from behind a number of games?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
Coach, you kind of talked about how Austin kind of asserted himself as a Friday night starter. With him and Cody, what do you think is their next step in their progression going into next year, to where, you know, Austin can be that guy, that the Hunter Moody, the Zach Osborne, that can really be lights out for him?
Well, I think that Austin needs to continue that. You know, as good as Austin did, Austin can get so much better, because, you know, coming into next season, Austin is going to be that guy, and Austin's going to have so much influence on the rest of the pitching staff that, you know, he can become better in the way he leads the entire pitching staff. And I'm not saying that he didn't do that this year, that he's not a good leader. I'm just saying that coming in, you know, he's going to be a junior now, coming off a nine-win season, an all-conference campaign. He's going to be the guy, especially when these new pitchers come in, that, and it's funny that you asked that question, because just an hour ago he was in the office with all 4 of the coaches, and we were discussing the same thing. You know, when these new guys come in, they're going to look at Austin and the guys that had success, and some of the position players that had success, and they're going to watch everything that they do. And when they see Austin do all of the extra work that he does besides just the bullpen sessions, you know, from his strength training to the way he takes care of himself, you know, on campus, on the field, off the field, then, you know, they'll have a tendency to say, well, you know, that's how this guy got to where he is. Yeah, he's got a great arm, he can get it up to 94, but you can't just have a great arm, get up to 94, and not do anything else and do the things that he did. So I think that's where Austin can really, really help us next year. I think Austin can help Cody Booty, you know, and becoming a little tougher out there on the mound. You know, Cody's not a pushover by any means, but he can get a little tougher on the mound, as can a lot of our guys that throw for us. So I know those two are going to be hanging around each other all summer, Cody and Austin. So, you know, they'll have a chance, each one of them will have a chance to influence the other. So I think that's, you know, that's the way that Austin can come back and really be, you know, a true, when you talk about, you know, there's always one or two players that are the faces of the program, you know, and sometimes they come just from the pitching staff, sometimes they come just from an offensive guy because he's out on the field every day, sometimes there's both. You know, we're fortunate, I believe, to have both. Austin being one of those guys, Dex Kerstad being one of those guys, Michael Strentz being one of those guys. Fortunately for us, we've got 2 or 3 of them, and I think that's why we've done what we did this year and have the chance to do that, if not more, next season.
I know there's always the fear of a team resting on their laurels, but considering how the weekend went, especially offensively, like you said, you were hoping to slug your way through the regional. That didn't necessarily happen. Is that almost kind of a silver lining of that motivation, that trinket for the offseason going into the fall?
I think it definitely can be. You know, one thing that Mike Strentz told us just this morning also in his exit interview, you know, we were talking about the pro draft and what are some of the things that he wants for himself, for Michael Strentz, whether it be as a college player, as a professional player, you know, and he said, beginning of the season, kind of throughout the season, some of his thought process was if he gets an opportunity to play professional baseball, he's going to take it after this season. He said, you know, playing through the conference tournament, seeing what we had here with the atmosphere and getting so close, playing through the regional, which is something he had never done before in his collegiate career, he said, I want to feel that again. I want to get back to that point, you know. So it's a huge deal. That's what we try to tell our players all the time is you know, even if you don't get an automatic bid, even if you don't win the conference tournament, we've got to take care of things along the way that'll make our resume strong enough to get an at-large bid to get to that regional, because there's nothing like regional experience. There's nothing like regionals for those kids, for those players. You know, as coaches, we've had the fortune of being to a lot of them, you know, and it's still exciting for us. I know that, I think it was the 3rd game, Coach Deggs and I were talking, and you know, as a coach, as a player, before every game, usually everybody's kind of looking around, taking all the surroundings in, and for that particular day, and I remember I was just standing in the dugout and just looking around, and you know, even though that was my, it was 8th or 9th regional, I don't know, but just kind of looking around and just realizing, you know, we're at the NCAA regionals. There's only 64 teams that get a chance to do this. And by the time the 3rd day rolled around, there were only, you know, 30-somewhat teams still having a chance to stand in a dugout and kind of look at a stadium and look at a baseball field today, you know. So it's important for our guys to get there, especially this team, because of what we have coming back, to know what's going to be expected of them next year and what to expect when we do get to a regional tournament.
Anything else, Coach?
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.